Throughout history, people have departed this world in countless ways. While most deaths are approached with gravity and respect, some individuals have exited the stage through circumstances so unexpected and remarkable that they overshadow their entire life's work. These are the stories that prompt reflection on how fortune can turn in an instant. Jimmy Hess Eldon represented success in its fullest form. A successful businessman with deep pockets and an even deeper commitment to charitable work, he distributed substantial sums to causes he believed in. By 2010, at age 62, Jimmy Hess Eldon served as the proprietor of Segway Incorporated, the enterprise responsible for creating a self-balancing transportation device intended to transform how people moved through cities. The invention generated mixed reactions. Some praised its innovation while others found it amusing and questioned its practicality. On a September afternoon in 2010, Hess Eldon decided to trial an all-terrain variant of his signature creation along the grounds of his English estate. He navigated a winding trail bordered by a precipitous hillside. According to those present, he adjusted his course to permit another individual and their companion animal to proceed. In that moment, his control faltered. Whether the device experienced a mechanical issue or Hess Eldon miscalculated the path remained unclear, but the result was unmistakable. He descended into the river wharf below, plunging approximately 30 feet into the water below. Emergency responders recovered both rider and machine from the water. Hess Eldon could not be revived. The universe had delivered a cruel lesson to the man who had invested his faith and fortune in this invention. Newspapers worldwide seized upon the irony with headlines declaring the creator's downfall. While Hess Eldon's generosity had distributed millions to humanitarian efforts, his name became forever linked to the peculiarity of his conclusion. Society remembered him not for his philanthropy but for the strange manner in which he met his end. Gary Hoy earned distinction among his legal colleagues through his unpredictable and entertaining demeanor. His signature performance involved displaying the strength of his workplace's large transparent walls. The structure, located on an upper floor of a prominent Toronto financial building, featured windows manufactured to withstand extreme pressure. Hoy had repeatedly thrown himself forcefully against these barriers, rebounding without harm, much to the amazement of junior staff members. The demonstration remained successful until an evening in mid-1993. During a social gathering for new legal professionals, Hoy opted to repeat his customary exhibition. Before an assembly of observers, he charged directly toward one of the expansive windows at considerable speed. The transparent material held firm, but the structural framework surrounding it did not. The entire assembly detached from the wall. Hoy tumbled through the opening, falling multiple stories to the street level below. The transparent panel itself remained unbroken throughout its descent. Hoy's assertion about window durability had proven accurate, though he paid with his existence. The accident attracted international media coverage and secured his place in collections of particularly unfortunate demises. Colleagues made dark observations about his fate. Observers noted how someone could overlook the fragility of the supports holding something in place. The law practice never recovered from the association and eventually ceased operations. Hoy's professional accomplishments faded from memory, replaced entirely by the spectacle of his final moment. Few people consider vending machines as potential threats to survival. Yet across decades, these ubiquitous dispensers have contributed to numerous casualties. The typical scenario involves someone attempting to jostle or strike the apparatus when their item becomes trapped inside. One such incident occurred in California during the early 1990s. A younger man found himself frustrated when his desired snack lodged within the machine. Rather than accept his misfortune, he began rocking the heavy device back and forth with increasing intensity. Those observing noted his movements became increasingly violent, causing the entire apparatus to shift precariously. Without warning, the heavy machine tipped forward. Its substantial weight bore down upon the individual, crushing his torso against the pavement. What rendered this tragedy particularly senseless was the existence of prior warnings. Throughout the preceding years, public health campaigns had explicitly cautioned against manipulating these machines, emphasizing their susceptibility to tipping because of their construction. For this individual, however, irritation superseded caution. Media outlets reported extensively on the incident, treating it as emblematic of needless tragedy. Commentators highlighted the disproportionality. The individual sacrificed his life over a consumable item of minimal monetary value. Modern machines now incorporate superior securing mechanisms, yet the image of someone crushed beneath such an ordinary apparatus persists as a sobering reminder. The man's death exemplified how everyday objects transform into instruments of harm when combined with human impatience and poor judgment. The annals of invention contain numerous examples of creators who tested their innovations personally, often with catastrophic results. Franz Reichelt, an innovator from Central Europe working in Paris, devoted himself to addressing aviation dangers. During the nascent era of human flight, he identified a critical problem. Airborne personnel lacked adequate protective equipment. Reichelt constructed multiple variations of a specialized garment combining standard clothing with an integrated descent system. By 1912, he had refined his concept and secured authorization from Parisian officials for a public demonstration. To everyone's astonishment, Reichelt declared his intention to personally execute this test rather than utilizing a test dummy. On a February morning in 1912, Reichelt ascended to an intermediate level of the iconic Parisian structure, positioned roughly 190 feet elevated. Journalists and photographers assembled to document what they anticipated would be a transformative moment in aviation. Positioned at the precipice, Reichelt waved away concerns from onlookers and released himself into the atmosphere. The material unfurled momentarily before collapsing inward, wrapping around his body instead of functioning as intended. He descended rapidly, striking the frozen earth beneath with tremendous force. Observers rushed toward him, but intervention proved impossible. Cinematographers had captured the entire occurrence on film, documenting both his preparatory moments and the aftermath. This recording circulated throughout Europe, transforming his intended glory into widespread humiliation. Specialists subsequently analyzed his apparatus and determined its design contained fundamental flaws. The dimensions were inadequate, the material unsuitable, and the construction incapable of producing the desired outcome. Reichelt's conviction in his invention exceeded his understanding of the physics governing its operation. He became a casualty of his own misguided optimism. Hans Steininger served as a local administrator during the medieval period in an Austrian municipality. His distinguishing characteristic, however, had little to do with governance. His facial hair, reportedly exceeding 4 feet in length, commanded attention wherever he traveled. So prominent was this feature that he habitually gathered and stored it within his clothing to prevent its trailing along surfaces. During a September evening in 1567, conflagration swept through his town. Residents scattered in response to the danger. In his haste to escape, Steininger neglected to secure his distinctive facial covering. As he rushed forward, the elongated hair became entangled beneath his feet. He lost equilibrium on a downward staircase, his body striking the steps. The resulting trauma proved fatal. Witnesses described the scene with bewilderment. The respected administrator, experienced in managing crises and directing communities, succumbed not to the flames or their consequences, but to his own accumulated hair. The occurrence became embedded in local narratives and remains documented in community institutions centuries later. The contradiction stands apparent. An individual who weathered epidemics, military conflicts, and administrative trials found his existence terminated by something as trivial as his own appearance. His conclusion became proverbial throughout the region, symbolizing how superficial concerns can overshadow practical wisdom. More than 4 centuries later, the account continues to provoke reactions of disbelief and contemplation. Basil Brown, a resident of an English municipality, pursued wellness with uncompromising dedication. Skeptical of conventional medical approaches, he championed natural substances and alternative health methodologies. His companions characterized him as somewhat unconventional, yet sincere in his convictions about nutritional science. In 1974, Brown committed himself to an intensive health initiative. He became convinced that concentrated doses of a particular orange vegetable could optimize his physical condition. His theory appeared straightforward. The substance possessed recognized nutritional compounds, therefore consuming it in abundance would proportionally enhance his well-being. He underestimated, however, a fundamental principle of toxicology: concentration matters. Throughout a 10-day interval, Brown consumed extraordinary quantities of juice derived from this vegetable. Estimates suggested approximately 1 gallon daily. Additionally, he ingested concentrated supplementary forms in extreme quantities, approximately 70 million units of a critical nutrient. For reference, standard recommendations suggested approximately 3,000 units of this nutrient daily for adult males. Brown's consumption exceeded recommended amounts by factors in the tens of thousands. His body manifested visible changes initially. His complexion assumed an unusual coloration, a consequence of excessive pigment accumulation within his tissues. Observers made light remarks about his appearance, but internally, his vital organs deteriorated from the overwhelming toxin burden. After suffering days of gastrointestinal distress, exhaustion, and abdominal anguish, Brown collapsed. Medical professionals attributed his death to poisoning from this nutrient taken to dangerous extremes. His quest for optimal health through natural consumption had paradoxically destroyed him through that same methodology. British publications covered the incident extensively, frequently employing darkly humorous characterizations. Specialists in nutrition recognized his situation as a cautionary examination of an elementary concept. Equilibrium in consumption remains essential. While the vegetable Brown consumed poses no danger in ordinary amounts, his approach represented dangerous extremism. His memory endures within medical education circles as a demonstration of hazard inherent in self-treating with concentrated substances without comprehending the underlying science. The person who structured his entire existence around achieving wellness became immortalized not through health accomplishment, but through the stunning manner his obsession produced the opposite outcome.